Hey guys, welcome to a new video. Today I'm sharing my Nintendo 64 collection. Realize I've never done a collection video for the Nintendo 64, so figured now's the best time to do it. So the Nintendo 64 came out in 1996, and at that time I was 16 years old, and I did not want to be bothered with the Nintendo 64. And it was really shocking, it honestly was. Because prior to the release of the 64, I really enjoyed the NES, had a blast with the Super Nintendo, and I loved my Game Boy. But there was something about the Nintendo 64 that I just could not get down with. And I feel like at that time my gaming taste might have changed, and I really wasn't, down to play Nintendo games. I don't know what it was. I was weird. And I also didn't like the controller. The controller just looked like it was uncomfortable. And it wasn't until maybe 97 a friend of mine got a Nintendo 64 and I went over to her house and I played it, and it turns out I was right about the controller. That's probably one of the worst controllers I've ever used. But, I grew up and I decided to open up my mind a little bit. So I got a Nintendo 64 and I started collecting for it, and it turns out that there's some really good games on the 64. So let's get started. As you guys can see, my collection is rather small, but that's okay. It's all good. Majority of these games I really enjoy, and I feel like they're must-haves for the system. So in no particular order, here's my Nintendo 64 collection. First up is F-Zero X. I love the series. It's a great racing series. This isn't one of the better F-Zero games, but it's still rather good. It's ugly as all hell. The textures are gross, but it's a fun game to play, no doubt. Castlevania. I'm guessing this is Castlevania 64. I think there's another Castlevania on the Nintendo 64, but it doesn't even really matter because I played about 20 minutes of this game and I could not get into it. I haven't played all of the Castlevania games, but I've played enough to know that this isn't one of the better ones. Perfect Dark. Now, I'm kind of upset at myself that I didn't get a chance to play this game during its heyday. I'm pretty sure that if I did, I would appreciate the game a whole lot more. You guys have some amazing Perfect Dark stories, and unfortunately, I've never really experienced the multiplayer, but I have played a bit of the single player, and I think it's a really good first-person shooter. Mario Party 2. This is the first Mario Party I ever played. I played this with my son a few years ago when he was in elementary school, and we had a lot of fun with it. I don't know if I'll ever go back and try to get any of the other Mario Party games, but this one was really a lot of fun. Mario Tennis. This is one of my favorite Nintendo 64 games, and I personally feel like it's one of the better Mario sports games. And it's probably the game that I've put the most hours into as far as Nintendo 64 games go. Have so much fun playing this game. Just the arcade alone is a blast to play through. It's another game that I played with my son a few years back, and I beat him every single match. Army Men, Sarge's Heroes 2. Unfortunately, I've never played this game. It was sent to me, I want to say maybe 4 or 5 years ago, but I love the green cart. Makes it look a little bit more fancy. Mickey Speedway USA is another one of my favorite Nintendo 64 games. It's just pure racing fun. I've spent hours with this game. I also have the Game Boy Color version, but this game is great, and it looks great too, and the controls were rather easy to learn. Super Mario 64. I do have a little confession to make. I have never completed this game, and I do enjoy Mario games. I have a blast playing through them. But the reason why I've never played this game probably has something to do with the fact that I didn't play it when it came out or anywhere close to it. This game felt kind of dated. I don't know what it was. And then I played the DS version and I felt that was worse because the controls were horrible. One of these days I want to get around to playing Super Mario 64. Maybe if they have it on the Wii shop, the virtual console or something, I want to try to play it. But playing it on the 64, man, I don't know if I can do it. I never knew Wipeout was on the Nintendo 64. I thought it was just a PlayStation game, a PlayStation franchise, but I guess I was wrong because I found Wipeout at a garage sale and I picked it up for super cheap. It doesn't look great, but it is a lot of fun to play. It plays like all the other Wipeout games. Unfortunately, it has the same problem that most Nintendo 64 games do. The textures, they're horrible, but it didn't stop me from playing it. I enjoyed the time that I spent with this game. Paper Mario was one of the main reasons I wanted to purchase a Nintendo 64 years ago. I remember playing this at my friend's house, and whenever she let me play, I'd get so excited because it was just totally different. I mean, it was a Mario game, but it was like an RPG, and at that time I don't even think I knew what an RPG was, but I just knew that it wasn't the traditional Mario, and I enjoyed every minute that I played of it. I got this game off of Craigslist for super cheap. I think I got it for $30 along with 4 other Nintendo 64 games. I got a lot of 464 games for 30 bucks. So the fact that it's torn here doesn't really bother me. I've played this game twice. I've played it through, completed it twice, and it's one of my favorite RPGs. Road Rash 64. Now, I spent a ton of time playing the Road Rash games on the Sega Genesis. I saw this at the thrift store for really cheap, picked it up, and you know, it's a fun ride. It honestly is. I don't think it's as good as any of the original Road Rash games from the Genesis, but it was fun while it lasted. 1080 snowboarding, fun extreme sports game. If I can find myself a copy of the Tony Hawk game for the Nintendo 64, I definitely will check that out. But I was a fan of Cool Boarders, and I figured, you know, 1080 snowboarding would be somewhat similar, and it actually is. I like this a little bit more than Cool Boarders. We have 2 Pokemon games here. First up is Pokemon Snap, and then Pokemon Stadium. I prefer Pokemon Snap just because it's not your traditional Pokemon game. It's silly and fun, and I enjoy snapping photos of Pokemon. And then there's Pokemon Stadium. I really haven't played this. I know I'm not going to like it though, because when it comes to Pokemon games, I don't really care for the battles. I mean, they're fun and everything, but I don't want a game based off of just battling. You know, I like the exploring aspects to the game. I honestly do. And the adventure. Pokemon Snap doesn't really have any of that, but it's not your traditional Pokemon game, which is why I really like it. Donkey Kong 64. This is another reason I wanted to get a Nintendo 64, because I love the Donkey Kong games on the Super Nintendo. But I was a little disappointed with this game. I don't know what it was. Maybe it was just the whole 3D aspect of it. But I was a little disappointed. But I love the yellow cart. It's fantastic. Got some James Bond games here. First up is 007 GoldenEye, which everyone rants and raves about. And this is another one of those games where I wish I would have played it back in the day, you know, because then I would appreciate it a little bit more. But as of right now, this game is horrible. It's ugly to look at. It's just not fun. And I know the multiplayer is the best part about the game, but I'm never going to play the multiplayer in this game. So unfortunately, I'm not a fan of GoldenEye, but I do like 007, The World Is Not Enough. I found the single player stuff to be rather fun. And again, this blue cart, man, I'm telling you, the Nintendo 64 knew what it was doing, what they were doing when they put out these different color carts. Rampage 2 Universal Tour. This is a fun destruction game. I haven't played a ton of it, but it is fun to pick up and play and just destroy whatever it is that you can. Mario Kart 64 is another one of my favorite Nintendo 64 games. It's, again, one of the reasons why I decided to just go ahead and purchase a Nintendo 64 a couple years ago. This is one of the games that I played when it came out in the 90s, and I had a blast with it. Kart racing for me will always be a blast to play. It's not my favorite Mario Kart game, but it is fun to play. And this is another one that I've played with my son, and again, beat him in just about every race. Okay, so I found Mario Kart 64 a few years ago at a thrift store for 80 cents. Super Smash Brothers I found the same day for 80 cents at the thrift store. I've played it, and I don't know why people love this game, because I definitely feel like the GameCube version, Super Smash Brothers Melee, is awesome, and Brawl is awesome too. This game is just so hard to play. I couldn't get into it. That same day, I found a copy of Harvest Moon 64 for 80 cents. I really had an amazing haul a few years ago when I found those 3 games. 80 cents each, and that will never happen again, which is sad. You know, the prices for retro games have just shot up, especially in the Nintendo 64. They used to be so cheap to get, but now, you know, the prices are to the moon. But Harvest Moon 64 is really fun. I didn't get really far into it, but it's one of my favorite Harvest Moon games. It's just a lot of fun to play. Very simplistic, and it really can't top the Harvest Moon games that we see now. But this is kind of, it's not where it all started, but this is where it kind of evolved and what it is today. Star Fox 64. I enjoy this game a whole lot more than what I do the original Star Fox on the Super Nintendo. You know, I've beaten this game and I enjoyed it. I'm not even really into like space shooters, but I had a blast with this one. So much fun. I found this at the thrift store as well. It's Clay Fighter 63 1/3. This is just a horrible fighting game. That's all I can say about it. I tried to play it with my son and neither one of us enjoyed it at all. Horrible. Cruis'n USA, another one of my favorite Nintendo 64 games. This game is awesome. And maybe I'm a little biased because ever since I can remember, whenever I went to an arcade, and now still to this day, if I go to Dave & Buster's and I see a Cruis'n USA arcade machine or Daytona, anything like that, I'll totally play it, and I'll play it for a while. Just the arcade feel to this game is awesome. I think there's some other versions on the Nintendo 64. There might be sequels to the game, and I definitely need to look into that. But this is another racing game that's just so much fun to play. Speaking of fun, we have Beetle Adventure Racing. This game is just so awesome. It honestly is. I mean, you're racing in beetles. How awesome is that? You know, beetles are awesome. I love the levels in this game. The levels are great. The level design is great. And the fact that there's shortcuts in the game, you know, you can kind of go off the unbeaten path and take shortcuts and stuff, is awesome. I feel like this game did it before the Need for Speeds and the Burnouts. Good stuff. Turok 2, Seeds of Evil. It's another thrift store find. I've played a bit of it and I actually like it. You know, this is the first Turok game that I've ever played. It's a solid shooter. Got some more Rareware games here. We got Banjo-Kazooie and Banjo-Tooie. Banjo-Kazooie is my favorite. This is another reason why I decided to get a Nintendo 64, because I knew I would enjoy this game, and I honestly did. Banjo-Tooie, I didn't play a lot of. I don't know what it was about this game. Unfortunately, I can't tell you why it turned me off, but I didn't play a lot of it. Diddy Kong Racing is another one of my favorite Nintendo 64 games, and I personally feel like it's better than Mario Kart 64. Shocking. I know some of you guys out there agree with me. This game is just so much more fun. I don't know what it is, but I've spent a lot more time with Diddy Kong Racing compared to Mario Kart 64. It's just better. Blast Corps. This is another Rareware title. I've really enjoyed this one. It's kind of like a demolition game, but you have vehicles and you're just destroying stuff. I remember there was like a time trials thing that I was trying to get through, but I kind of gave up because it got a little too hard. But it was a cool open world, you know, destruction game that I really enjoyed. Bomberman Hero. I actually like this game. I've played maybe 1 or 2 Bomberman games before this and I couldn't really get into them, but I like what this game has to offer. It was a lot easier because you can jump in this game, but I found it to be harder in that same aspect because the bosses were so hard in this game for some reason. I also remember you can throw bombs kind of far, which is weird. But yeah, Bomberman Hero is pretty good, and Bomberman is a series that maybe one day I'll get into a little bit more. Got another confession for you guys. I've never completed Ocarina of Time, and I will one of these days. I promise I will. The 3DS version, you know, I have to. Consider myself to be a fan of Zelda, but I think the reason I never played it again is because I didn't, you know, have a Nintendo 64 when this game came out, you know, and I didn't really know anything about it. But that's still no excuse. One of these days, like I said, I will complete The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. I do have a few boxed and complete Nintendo 64 games. First up is Tetrisphere. I consider myself a fan of Tetris. I love Tetris. I honestly do. Been playing it since it came out. Tetrisphere just doesn't feel right. You know, what's that saying? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And I think that applies to Tetris. They tried to fix it and add some new stuff in there, and it just doesn't feel right. Not the biggest fan of that game. Kirby the Crystal Shards. I'm so happy to have this game boxed and complete. This is another one of my favorite Nintendo 64 games. Great Kirby game, blast to play, and it's just so cute. Conker's Bad Fur Day. Another Rareware title that is a blast. Oh my gosh. Conker's Bad Fur Day is where it's at. It's just pure, unadulterated Conker. Just craziness. Stuff that you wouldn't imagine. At the time, I'm sure this broke or just blew people's mind because you know, you don't expect video games to be as raunchy as this one, and that's one of the reasons why I love it so much. This game is a blast to play. It's one of my favorite Rare titles. Last but not least, Jet Force Gemini, another Rareware game. Rare just totally dominated on the Nintendo 64. But this game is really good. I don't think I've never completed this game, but I really enjoyed it. It's like an action-adventure game. Some really cool weapons are in this game, and I love the characters. It's really good stuff. That's my Nintendo 64 collection. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Little side note here, I will be putting out collection videos for these older systems, and you'll probably see one a month. I'll try to do one on a monthly basis for you guys. So look forward to like PS2 collection, Game Boy Advance collection, Game Boy Color, Super Nintendo, NES, all types of stuff. Just, you know, updating my collections because they've grown, obviously. I'm not setting out to get every Nintendo 64 game out there, but I know that I've missed some in my collection. I'm sure there's a bunch more out there that I know that I'll really enjoy. So guys, let me know. What are some of your favorite Nintendo 64 games? Do you have any recommendations? Leave them in the comment box below. I want to thank all of you guys for watching this video, and I'll check you next time.